It is day 7 of testimony in the Dale Warner murder trial. I'm Melissa Andrews, a crime and investigative reporter covering this case. Dale Warner is accused of murdering his wife Dee in 2021 and then welding her inside an anhydrous tank where she was found 3 years later. I think this was our most productive day in court by far in terms of how many witnesses we got through and a lack of powwows in the back. We got through 6 witnesses today. So I'm going to divide this into morning and afternoon because these videos are getting really long and difficult to upload. So we started off this morning with our 17th witness of the case, the first for today, Jason Grall. He worked at the Warner farm. He was a mechanic and did odd jobs. He said that he went to work on Monday, April 26th at 7 a.m. and Dale told him that Dee had left on Sunday evening. He also worked on Tuesday, April 27th. He was asked if he ever watched any surveillance video from April 27th, and he wasn't sure. So it became very apparent that Jason was having a very hard time on the stand. He was really not remembering a lot of things. And it came out later that he had a brain injury and had difficulty with memory. So in his testimony, he says he previously said he recalled moving a tank for Dale, but now didn't remember. Says he moved tanks regularly. He thought this tank was behind the burn pile, but then he was having a lot of trouble identifying the different buildings that we've seen on the property and where the burn pile was. He was shown a picture of the front loader, and he said it's probably me. Taking it to the spray barn, a tank, at 5:43 p.m. When asked why Dale wanted it moved, he said, I think he wanted it cleaned up. On cross-examination, it comes out about the brain bleed and the memory. Mary Chartier, who is the defense attorney, asked if it's possible that Mr. Warner told you that Dee left on Sunday morning. He said yes. She said, you've moved tanks for Mr. Warner before. He said yes. And then there was a jury question. Did Dale tell you to take the tank to the spray barn? He said yes. Our 18th witness, second for today, is Parker Hardy, Dee Warner's nephew. So Parker says he was told that Dee was missing around 1 or 2 o'clock on Sunday. He went to the Munger farm office where his cousins and Dale Warner were looking through the surveillance video, which several have testified to already. He drove the gator at the farm to look for her on the north side of the house. Something caught his attention, tracks from the front loader backed into almost the house. Like as far as you can get toward the house is where these front loader tracks were. And the Hummer was parked on top of those tracks. He said it was notable because how the gravel was thrown. It looked like it was moving fast and it was unusual for the front loader to be pulled up that close to the house. He was asked where the bucket would be. He said it would have been almost to the door on the porch. He said on his second visit that day, the Hummer had been moved back to the house. The seat was in the position of someone who was shorter. On Tuesday, April 27th, Parker is on a corn planter at the farm. He was purchasing fertilizer from Dale. He went into the spray barn to load fertilizer and saw the tank in the spray barn. He thought it was very unusual for an anhydrous tank to be in that condition on the Warner farm. Usually they're painted and there had never been an anhydrous tank in the spray barn. Dale meets with him in the barn and Parker is asked, did you ask Dale about the rusty tank? And he said, I did. And he said, well, what did he say about it? And he said, he told me that he has some of the employees bring in tanks at night because he was going to paint them because he was having trouble sleeping because his wife was missing. On cross-examination, he's asked about coming and filling up his own tank, an anhydrous tank, and what that process usually was. It was the last time he had any physical contact with his aunt, Dee, and that was on Friday. Remember, she was reported missing on Sunday. Did you see Mr. Warner drive by your house in the sprayer? Yes. Were you concerned that Ms. Warner took her own life? Yes. You drove from your property to the Warners? Yes. Where was the Hummer when you first saw it? The office, later on in the back of the house? Yes. the JCB, which is the front loader, tracks up to the house. You didn't see the reverse tracks. No. She said, was that noticeable? Yes. On April 27th, you saw the rusty tank in the spray barn and you didn't see a non-factory weld on the tank. And he says, no. And then the attorney says, would you have noticed that? He said, I didn't look at the specifics, only noticed an old rusty tank. They say, you didn't see Mr. Warner behaving unusually with it. And he said, correct. And the 19th witness is Jordan Graves. It's our third for today. He works for the FBI in the Detroit field office. This is very interesting, his testimony. He was really great on the stand too because he made a lot, he looked at the jury quite a bit and he was very clear. He said that he was asked in late March of 2025 to enhance some audio of a recording in this case. This is where Detective Greca comes back into the fold. Apparently, Detective Greca was on the scene on Tuesday, April 27th, and he was wearing a body-worn camera. This guy, Jordan Graves, the FBI guy, says it was at one point separated from the people in the conversation. It was muffled with a background noise. The camera was placed in the car with the door closed. Why would a detective who's having a conversation and at this point is talking to Jaron Warner, we can see in the pictures, allegedly, we can hear dogs being mentioned. Dogs are being brought to Munger Road as part of a search warrant with drones. Then Detective Greca removes his body cam and puts it in the car and shuts the door. So the audio of when the camera is in the car is what now needs to be enhanced by the FBI in order for us to hear it. The problem is no one in the courtroom that I talked to really could understand what the audio still was after it was enhanced by the FBI. Can the jury go back and listen to it in the deliberation room? I believe they can because it's now an exhibit, but apparently there was a transcript that was trying to be introduced of what exactly was said, and the judge just felt that the audio was enough. So whether or not they think to go back and watch what was said, they will know. So anyways, this FBI guy, the forensic examiner, digital forensic examiner, said he may have worked on this clip for a couple of days. He said he doesn't clarify words. He just makes it easier to hear and he does not change the dialogue. So I'm going to do the next three witnesses of the day in another video. In terms of Detective Greca, though, and his conversation, which apparently involved telling Jaron Warner that dogs were on the way to the property, how problematic is it that we have not heard from the lead investigator in this case? At this point, we've talked about Detective Greca several times. We've seen him interviewing Dale Warner on body cam. We now have an allegation that he removed his body cam during the execution of a search warrant. Does the jury need to hear from him? Because I'm thinking, if I'm a juror, why aren't we hearing from him? And I've seen cases where the lead investigator is problematic, and sometimes you don't call him because it's more trouble than it's worth, but that name has to be occurring to the jurors, and they have to be wondering, why are we not seeing the lead investigator in this case?